Welcome to the She Wins podcast. I'm your host, Heather Sumlin, and today I have the fabulous Haleigh Hurst. Haleigh is Miss Virginia Volunteer. She's heading to Miss Volunteer America, but you've held like every title under the sun. Can you give us kind of like a recap of some of the titles that you've held?
Oh yeah, I won my first title 5 years after I started competing, so it kind of took me a while, but I was IJM International Junior Miss Texas Junior Teen. I've done every system under the sun, so jumped from IJM to National American Miss. Placed top five at nationals, which was amazing. I was Miss High School America in 2020. Serving first as Miss Texas High School America, getting first runner-up, coming back the next year as Guam, which is such an interesting story, but captured the national title, came back, did Oklahoma Teen USA, was so fortunate enough to make the semifinals for Miss Teen USA, turned around and was the 2023 America's Ideal Miss. And then from there, less than a week later, I competed and was crowned Miss Virginia Volunteer.
It's just so many systems. So when we do the Patreon episode, I really want to spend time breaking down some of the differences because I think girls might want to compete but don't know like where they should go, what they should do. So if you're not a Patreon member, join the Patreon membership so Haleigh can talk you through some of the things that she's learned along the way.
Yes.
It'll be super
And they're
fun.
all so different too. So there's a system out there for everyone. And so you're going to want to hear that.
Absolutely. Okay, so Haleigh, I met you when you were like 12.
Yes.
So should we tell the story?
Okay. I remember sobbing in your office. So growing up, I had a severe speech impediment. So Heather has truly seen me from like ground zero, bottom Haleigh, 5'10", stumbled into her office with the severe speech impediment. And it was really hard for me to open up to anyone. We did a couple sessions. We realized we weren't getting anywhere. And I remember you looking at me and you're like, Haleigh, like, what is wrong? What is this mental block? And I just started bawling because I was being bullied at school, but I didn't want to tell my mom. So then we brought my mom in and I told my mom everything I just told you. And then from there, it kind of sparked my first platform ever, Your Uniqueness is Never a Weakness, which was an anti-bullying platform. And then we kind of continued my pageant career from there. That kind of sparked for me my passion for working with elementary schools and middle schools in terms of anti-bullying and empathy over apathy initiatives that have since grown into my platform now, Teach Next Gen, which teaches the importance of education, focusing on education reform through public policy and lobbying as well.
What I remember about you too is, first of all, stunning. And I remember you had like this goal, like at 12. And this is what I remember. You were like,
Yes.
I'm going to be a professional model. Like, I'm going to be a model. And you were so sure, gonna do it. I said, great. Okay, awesome. And in my mind, like, I never know if someone's actually going to do it. And then look at you. You've won like
Yes.
all of the titles. You do a ton of modeling. Super successful. So it's just really cool to see how far that dream that you had when you were 12 and then watching you literally live that dream. And then you also then wanted to be an attorney and I think a divorce attorney at some point.
Yes, I wanted to be a family lawyer and I wanted to specialize in divorce because at the time, 68% of first marriages ended up in divorce. And so I remember talking through different like answers with you, like how to pitch it in a way that was like softer and not as like, I hope everyone gets divorced type of beat. But it ended up, I now still want to go into law. I want to do mergers and acquisitions. So completely different side of law. But yeah, family law for the longest time was my thing.
I mean, what you told, of course you were young. Okay. So you were like early teens. And you said, I
Yes.
want to be a divorce lawyer because if 68% of marriages end in divorce, that's a lot of potential clients. And I remember it was just the logic and the divorce attorneys are needed. And so it was never like, I think people should get divorced. It was, they are anyway. And if I can serve and if I can help, and I think you like wanted to help the kids too. And like,
Yes.
be that kind of supportive attorney for everyone. So anyway, these are all these things are just coming back to me as we're talking. So anyway,
No,
I
everything's
yeah.
also coming back to me now. Like the image gets clearer and clearer and clearer.
You're like, I've forgotten some of that. It's been a minute. Okay, so let's talk about volunteers. So you're representing Virginia because you actually go to school. You go to two schools, don't you?
Yes, so I'm a triple major across two different universities.
Tell us how that works.
So at the University of Oklahoma, where my current residence is now, I'm finishing up my public relations and political science dual honors degrees. So I am fortunate enough to be completely done with both of those right now. I'm just wrapping up my honors research thesis in my political science degree. And in the spring, remotely, I will be wrapping up my thesis in public relations. And then through Liberty, um, I went through a midlife crisis, as some would say. I like to call it a teen or a young adult crisis, where
It's a
I've
quarter
had this
life.
dream of
Yeah.
going to law school for so long. And I was like, what if I don't want to go to law school? Like, what if I get there and I hate it and I wasted all this time? So Liberty is one of the only institutions in the United States that offers a specific program. It's called Law and Policy, and it's law school for undergrads. So I'm currently taking
Mm.
torts for undergrads, contract law for undergrads, the constitutional founding of America, like all of these law specific courses that will help gear you towards how to be successful in law
Mm.
school. So I started in Liberty this summer, and that's based out of Lynchburg, Virginia. And since I am a student there, it qualifies me to compete in Virginia.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun and I love those classes. Those classes challenge me more than I thought they would. I enjoy doing the reading and I am so excited now to go to law school. It all works out for the best.
Oh, I think this is going to be great. I'm so excited for little Haleigh to be a lawyer. Like, it's just so cute. Okay, so walk me through some of the things that you feel like you want to talk about. Like, one of the things you know darn well, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. So, one question I'm going to ask you, I ask everybody: how do you define winning?
Winning to me is looking back and making 9-year-old Haleigh proud. So when I started pageantry, I know we touched on it earlier, 5'10", fully grown by sixth grade, severe speech impediment. I know we talked about I sounded like Elmer Fudd from Looney Tunes. I couldn't pronounce my R's. I had a slight lisp and a stutter. And so communication was always something that was really, really hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I was someone who was so competitive. I was going to win. I was going to achieve these goals. And I didn't even realize for the longest time that I had these problems or these obstacles that I had to overcome in terms of my speech. And so success for me is looking back at the past 12 years. Oh, I feel like I just aged myself
Yeah.
so much there. 12 years of pageantry and seeing everything that I've accomplished. I have a podcast. I've written a children's book. I've written two public policies.
Mm.
I now speak nationally a lot of the time. And it's something that I never at 9 years old or even 12 and 13 when I was really trying to identify who I was and overcome those struggles, I never would have thought I'd be where I am today. And so success for me is seeing the growth, acknowledging it, and continuing to use that as motivation to push me.
So, what's a defining moment for you then?
I think a huge one is honestly when I opened up to you about bullying.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that so vividly, just like sobbing. I know exactly what I was wearing. I
Oh,
was in
wow.
jeans and they had two holes in them and some boots that did not match my shirt that I was wearing. I was wearing like pink shirts and a pink shirt, and I think I was wearing like orange boots or something like ridiculous because I never matched any of my clothes back then. And I just remember sobbing. And you brought my mom in, and that was the first time we talked about me
Mm-hmm.
being bullied. And from there, I was like, wow, I didn't realize that this was impacted me so
Right.
much. And then a year and a half later, I finally had won my first title, IJM Texas Junior Teen. And I had a judge walk up to me and he looked at me in the eye and he told me, Haleigh, you will never go anywhere in life if you don't fix your speech impediment, and you were not my favorite. And he walked away.
Oh,
And I was devastated because I was 13. I got bumped up to a different age category. I was supposed to be in the preteen age category, 10 to 12. I had just turned 13. They bumped me up so I could look like the rest of the 13-year-olds because my birth date, like barely missed the pageant
mm.
cutoff date. And that was the first time I not on like the first time I won anything. So I was ecstatic and I just remember
Hmm.
being devastated. But in that moment, I was like, this can either define me or I can use this as fuel. So I found myself in speech therapy 5 days a week, 3 days out of school, 2 days in school, being mocked by my classmates because I had to leave early from class to go take these specific speech classes. But all of that, just added fuel to my fire. When I started speech therapy, doctors said, it would take about 2 years to fully correct, and I was able to do it in 6 months. And now I don't really stop talking.
Yeah,
So.
I love it though. I love that.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
I
Once
mean,
you find your voice and you find your purpose, I think the Lord and also your inner calling calls you to do something that is so special. And so for me, that's talk to whoever will listen.
what is amazing to me is a lot of girls would have taken what he said and been like, okay, well then I guess I'm not going to amount to anything. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, devastated, obviously, but then driven to change
Hmm.
it. And I mean, the speech impediment was there. Like, and I think you knew that. It was just, I don't know how to fix it. Maybe I can't. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so proud of you for knocking it out of the park. And then you're a professional
Thanks.
communicator, basically, and you're going to communicate
Yeah,
for a living for the rest of your life. So that's,
absolutely. And what's so funny about that story is a couple years later, I made top five at Texas Teen USA. I'm backstage and I run into the same guy who told me that when I was 13. And so I reminded him that he told me that and I thanked him for his feedback.
mm,
And he was like, "Oh, I was just doing it to light a fire." And I snapped back at him and I was like, "No, you were just saying that to be mean." And I walked on stage to answer my final question. Should I have said that to him? Probably not. But did I do it anyways? Yes, because for me, that was so closing to that chapter where it's like, I overcame this and I proved you wrong, and now I'm
hmm.
here. And so I don't recommend doing that, but for me, it was very therapeutic.
Well, I think it shows that you can be feisty and fierce, and that's okay.
Thank you.
But he may have needed to hear that. I mean, I don't know who it was. That's a we don't need to say who, but like
Yeah.
he may have needed to hear that. I mean, sometimes we think we're saying something out of the goodness of our heart, but sometimes when if it's taken as mean, I mean, we got to be told.
Yeah. I want someone to tell me I'm in the wrong or I hurt their feelings so I know how to fix it. So I think that was my intention with saying it the way that I did, but I honestly don't remember. Emotions were really high in that moment.
Yeah, you were like, I'm gonna be feisty. It's fine. It's fine. Now I'm gonna go answer my question, my onstage question,
Hostage
like a boss
question.
lady. Okay. So when you look at your journey, you've probably been given a ton of advice. What's advice that you think has stuck with you the most or impacted you the most?
I'm not going to say be yourself because be yourself is so cliche, but I don't think you should ever try to change yourself for a title,
Mm-hmm.
or ever try to change yourself for a job description. And I think that's something that can resonate beyond pageantry. For
Mm-hmm.
the longest time, I was like, I need to be this cookie cutter pageant girl. I need to walk perfectly. I need to talk perfectly. I need to be so professional at a young age. So no one can ever see that, I am human and I make mistakes and I can be fun and have a personality. And so for the longest time, I would mend myself to the title that I was competing for or the thing that I was applying to. And looking back, I just laugh at myself because I'm like, why would I do that? Why did I ever for a second think that Haleigh wasn't enough for that? And if there's a title that comes along and it's not you, that's okay. I have lost so many more times than I have ever won, but each time I learn something, and I'm so much more thankful in the times where I go and I'm 100% Haleigh Ryan Hurst and would not change a thing to the moments where I win and I was like, wow, I wasn't myself at all. I remember at Teen USA, walked out of the interview room. I was like, you know what? I'm probably not making the top 20, but that was the most Haleigh interview I could have ever asked for. And I wanted, and that was a great end to my Teen USA chapter. Thankfully, I ended up making the semifinals, but I look back and I watch that interview all the time because it's something that I'm so proud of that I didn't change myself for any title, any question that they asked me, and I was 100% fully myself. And so that's my biggest advice to everyone is yes, you'll see the job description. Yes, you'll see who the queens are and what they have accomplished, but you as yourself have so much power in you. And to harness that power and use it to your advantage is something that's so special. But it does take a lot of soul searching to do, and you have to know who you are to do that.
So why did you think you weren't going to make the top 20 after that? Or the finals after that
Um,
interview?
so I guess I can kind of talk about this. My whole interview was political. Like I was not asked like a single fun question about me. And as a teen, like I worked in politics, so I was fine with it. But I walked out and I was like, okay, the judges believed one side and I believed the complete opposite. And it is what it is. And shared my truth. I gave both sides. Do
Mm-hmm.
political PR right now as a side gig. And so that kind of just kicked in. I was like, I wouldn't change a thing. Like it is what it is.
Well, and I mean, that's what that's what happens when they ask what they want to know based
Hmm.
on, and you are more political in the sense like you advocate, you're involved with organizations that are very politically driven, you want to be an attorney, like you care about policy, you're very interested in all those things. So it doesn't shock me that they would have asked. It makes me sad though. I'm just going to say it out loud. It makes me sad when a judging panel stays way too on like one thing. They need to be
Yes.
more diverse. But we'll talk
Hmm.
more about that in the Patreon episode because I could get on a tangent
Yes.
and we're not going to do that. So, what else have you learned about yourself? So, you mentioned like really knowing who you are so that you can stand true to who you
Hmm.
are. What did
Yeah.
you do to learn who you are, and what did you learn about yourself that you want to share?
I went on this huge like self-discovery kick, probably my sophomore year of high school, going into my junior year of high school. I went through a lot of change. I ended up changing the school I was at. I went from public to a private school to very close-knit communities that I just like wasn't a part of. And so I didn't have a great set of friends until the start of my junior year of high school. And even then, like I had to take a step back and really reflect on the person who I wanted to be because I think for people it's so easy to see who they want to be. They just don't know the steps on how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I found myself journaling a lot. I wrote a lot of letters to myself, and so on my computer file, I have a file that's letters to my younger self. And so everything I learn, I catalog and I write down my feelings, and it just kind of goes into the void just to get it out. But it's also about finding things that you're passionate about and being able to tap into them. I think for me, that has always been writing and speaking. And so, changing schools and then taking a huge transition from high school to college, I did a ton of writing and a ton of just like self-reflecting, finding out what my goals are, what my passions are, and laying out a logical plan to achieve them and finding things in there that make me happy and let me express myself. I'm very logical in the way that I think I have to break things down and give myself like tangible goals to reach. Like a little reward is like
Mm-hmm.
marking off my goals off of a list or marking off that one last homework assignment that, you have to get done. But just like that satisfaction of keep moving forward and seeing your goals and working towards that end goal. I feel like in that process, I have grown into the young woman I am today.
Okay, I want to talk about something because you mentioned like the goals and checking off and everything. But how many hours did you tell me that you're taking right now this
I'm in
semester?
30 credit hours this semester. So the average college student takes 12 to 15, and I'm double that because I'm in two institutions.
And why did you do this to yourself? I mean, A, why? And B, like, how are you surviving it?
I ask myself that all the time because not only am I in 30 credit hours, I work at a political advocacy group and doing campaigns. So my campaign season is just now wrapping, where I was doing that full time 3 days a week. Being Miss Virginia volunteer, I'm back and forth between Oklahoma and Virginia, constantly scheduling different things. I'm president of my sorority, chair of Gaylord College of Mass Comms. Like I feel like I truly do it all. Which speaks to another point that I would like to talk about in a
Hmm.
second. But I honestly don't even know how I do it all, to be
Yeah.
quite honest, but
You just have
it
one heck of
works.
a to-do list and you just check them. You must,
Yes, I mean that it keeps me organized and it keeps me wanting to do more, to be honest. I like to say, this is what I wanted to talk about. A lot of people say you can't have it all.
hmm
I truly believe you can. you can accomplish anything you want. You can have whatever you want in life as long as you sit down and you take a second and you lay out all of your goals in front of you. Then you see how those goals overlap and you see how you can build on those
Mm-hmm.
to get to where you want to be. And so I think that's one thing that has made me so where I define myself as successful now in college and, being able to be involved in so many different aspects, still being a 4.0 student, making those great grades, starting to find myself in a young professional career. You can do it all with great time management
Mm-hmm.
skills and being able to just drive your own boat, but knowing and listening to yourself to know when you need a break. Because
Mm-hmm.
once you hit that burnout period, it is so hard to come back from it.
I've always thought you can do it all, but not all at once. I mean, I think it's really difficult, and you're obviously doing a lot at once. But I think there is a sacrifice there. You're probably
Yes.
sacrificing personal time, friend time. You're not going
Oh,
out,
yeah.
so you're sacrificing some relationships and friendships to an extent because there's no way that you
Yeah.
have enough time in
No.
the day to do all of the things. But it's not like sacrificing it forever. It's like you're putting some things have to be on hold
Hmm.
while you're pursuing this other part of your life. And then it
Yeah.
all will come back together. You probably aren't
Exactly.
going to do 30 hours again next semester.
No. I'm only in 25 next semester,
Oh,
so
only
just
20,
talking.
only 25. And preparing for Miss Volunteer America. Okay. You're so funny. But it's okay. But it's virtual, right? Next semester?
It is.
Oh,
It is. It's all online, which is so manageable. I can knock out all my classes in 2 days, and then I won't have to think about it for the rest of the week.
I feel like also you're probably not the typical student. I
No.
bet that you're able to read really quickly, fly
See,
through
I
information.
have trouble with reading. And I think a lot of it comes from my speech impediment
Um,
and I have to like read out loud, but then I can't pronounce a word, so I have to like slowly start rereading everything. But what I've found that has been super helpful is I'll translate my textbooks and my books into audiobooks. So
mhm.
as I'm like driving to work or I'm walking across campus, I have my earphones in and I'm constantly just listening to my textbooks read for me, which has been really helpful.
Oh, that's so smart. So smart. I listen to a lot of audiobooks because
Oh, me too.
it's a time saver because you can
It is.
multitask and you're still going to get it. Like you can be walking on the treadmill listening. You can be
Mhm.
walking your dogs and listening. I mean, there's just so many opportunities. So
Yeah.
I love that. I do like that you're super busy. It amazes me because I do. I mean, I look back at I don't know how many years ago it was now. How many years
I
when were
think
you
like
12?
literally almost 10. I think it was
It
10
was like
years
a
ago because I'm
decade
21
ago.
now. I think I started with you when I was 10 or 11.
Oh
Pretty
my
young.
gosh. So a decade ago, you were crying to me in my office, and then now you're about to
Yeah.
graduate with from one school, heading into law school.
Yeah.
It's just unreal. I am so proud of you. I'm proud of you for all of the things. So if people want to follow you, how do they find you?
Yes. So my personal Instagram is at the Haleigh Hurst. And then if you want to follow my Virginia volunteer journey, it's at Miss VA Vol. So really excited about those, but I'm on all social media platforms. Just look up Haleigh Hurst or the Haleigh Hurst and it should pop up there.
Nice. Okay, so wait, really quick. You did a lot with broadcasting, and
Hmm.
originally that's what you wanted to do that too.
Yeah.
How has your undergrad and all of the things that you've been doing in school helped you prepare in pageant?
Absolutely. So I was originally recruited to the University of Oklahoma for broadcast journalism. I quickly realized I don't want to be a broadcast journalist
Mm-hmm.
and I want to make a lot of money one day. And you don't do that starting out in broadcast journalism, frankly.
So true.
Um, just putting it out there, you can. Kudos to those who can. I just know I wanted to go on the legal route, so PR was better for me. But all the skills that I learned in broadcast really helped me in pageantry, whether that is being able to adapt on the fly. And
Mm-hmm.
as a story changes, you're able to change with it, pivot your viewpoint or pivot whatever you need to pivot and work on it. It also teaches you to be ready at any moment. You never know when you need to be on camera, when you're being pulled in for a last minute interview. So just always being prepared and ready to go is something that is super important that a lot of broadcasters learn early on, but also doing your research. I think broadcast has taught me to look at all sides of the spectrum. For example, politics. I listen to five different news shows every single morning, and each of them hit on a different political group, and have different ideologies. So I'm able to turn back and reflect on my own opinions and then form an opinion based off of that. So I'm getting all the information from all different sides. And so it has really taught me a lot about, remaining unbiased, but still thinking critically.
I just think you're fabulous. I think that you are bound
I
for
think you're
greatness. Oh,
fabulous.
thank you. I love this. I love us. This is so fun.
I love us.
So I'm excited for you. Can't wait to follow your journey. Everybody, follow Haleigh and join the Patreon channel so that you can hear more from what Haleigh has to say about not only all of the systems, but I want to learn more about your, I don't know, success in the interview room and your platform switch too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.